A powerful wind sweeps across the vast deserts of ancient Arabia, stirring the dust of forgotten civilization. A.D. Their story is rarely told, yet it holds a mirror to our world today. This script begins long before the dunes reclaimed their glorious cities, at a time when strength defined status and arrogance shaped identity. In a society where greatness was measured by towering structures and unmatched physical power, one man stepped forward with a message that challenged the very foundation of their pride. That man was Prophet Hud A.S., chosen to guide a people intoxicated by their own achievements. The people of Ad lived in Al-Akaf, a region known for its rolling sand dunes and fertile valleys. They were regarded as giants, massive in stature, robust in physique, and unrivaled in craftsmanship. Their homes were carved into mountains, and their monuments rose toward the heavens. But beneath their outward success lay a spiritual emptiness that corrupted their hearts. They worshipped idols crafted by their own hands, believing these lifeless statues controlled rain, fortune, and destiny. Into this misguided society came Hud, alayhi salam, a man born among them, familiar with their customs, yet divinely guided above them. Hud, alayhi salam, did not appear as an outsider. He was from a noble lineage of Ad, known for his honesty, wisdom, and integrity. His people respected him, until he began calling them to the truth they did not want to hear. Allah chose him as a prophet to lead them away from polytheism and toward the worship of the one true God. His voice carried a tone of sincerity and urgency, reminding them that strength without humility was a pathway to destruction. But the people who took pride in building colossal pillars scoffed at the idea of submitting to unseen divine authority. Standing before massive gatherings, Hud, alayhi salam, dressed his people with clarity. "O my people, worship Allah. You have no God besides him." His message was simple, yet powerful. He reminded them of the blessings they enjoyed: lush lands, abundant crops, countless flocks, and architectural talent unmatched by any nation before them. These blessings were signs, not coincidences. But the people of Ad had grown accustomed to attributing their success to themselves. They saw Hud's call as an attempt to diminish their pride and strip them of the lifestyle they cherished. Arrogance blinded them from recognizing divine mercy. Instead of reflecting on Hud's message, the chiefs of Ad mocked him. They accused him of foolishness, claiming that their gods would punish him for insulting them. They ridiculed the idea that one God could control everything. Some said Hud was simply seeking attention. Others spread rumors that he was possessed. Yet Hud, alayhi salam, never responded with anger. He remained composed, countering their insults with wisdom. He reminded them that he sought no reward, no power, and no authority over them. His sole mission was to deliver the truth and guide them away from a fate they could not foresee. The more Hud, alayhi salam, spoke, the more resistant they became. Their pride had solidified into denial. They pointed at their towering structures and vast wealth, asking Hud, "Who is stronger than us?" They believed their physical might granted them immunity from any divine punishment. But Hud responded with a reminder that cut to their arrogance. Allah is stronger than you. His words unsettled them, for deep down they sensed he spoke the truth. Yet pride pushed them to reject him. Their leaders feared losing influence if the people embraced Hud's message, so they intensified their opposition. Years passed as Hud preached with unwavering patience. He approached individuals, families, and gatherings, hoping their hearts might soften. But only a small group believed in him. Most of the nation clung stubbornly to their idols. They feared change. They feared losing their traditions. They feared acknowledging a higher power that challenged their sense of control. Hud, alayhi salam, watched his people drift further into heedlessness, yet he continued to pray for their guidance. Even when mocked publicly and isolated socially, he showed resilience. His persistence serves as a model for anyone calling for truth in a resistant society. The people of Ad lived in a region that relied heavily on rainfall. Their prosperity depended on fertile lands nourished by consistent showers. But as their disobedience deepened, rain gradually ceased. The skies, once generous with clouds, turned barren. Crops failed, livestock weakened, and water sources dwindled. It was a subtle warning from Allah, a chance for them to reflect. Hud, alayhi salam, said this moment to remind them of Allah's power and mercy. He pleaded with them, "Seek forgiveness, and your Lord will send rain in abundance." Despite witnessing the drought, their hearts remained hardened. With desperation creeping into their lives, the people of Ad sought help from their idols. They gathered around their stone deities, offering sacrifices, chanting prayers, and begging for rain. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, yet the sky remained silent. Their idols could not hear, could not respond, and could not control the clouds. Still, they refused to acknowledge the truth. Instead, they accused Hud, alayhi salam, of causing the drought through his preaching. Their logic became twisted by ignorance. Instead of turning toward Allah, they blamed the very man trying to save them. As the drought worsened, famine loomed. Darkness settled over their once thriving kingdom. Hud, alayhi salam, intensified his warnings, reminding them that this was not punishment but mercy, an invitation to repent before calamity struck. He urged them to abandon their arrogance and submit to the Creator, who controlled every blessing they enjoyed. But instead of taking heed, the leaders pushed back, claiming Hud was simply trying to scare them into obedience. They painted him as a threat to social harmony. Their defiance reached a peak when they boldly challenged Hud to bring the punishment he warned of. Hud, alayhi salam, was heartbroken, not because they rejected him, but because they rejected truth. He knew what awaited a nation that combined corruption, arrogance, and disbelief. Yet, he continued his call, hoping at least some hearts would awaken. He reminded them of the people of Noah before them, how their stubbornness led to destruction. But the Ad dismissed Noah's story as ancient folklore. They believed their strength set them apart from all previous nations. This false sense of superiority made them blind to reality and deaf to every warning that Hud compassionately delivered. With no rain for years, the land turned desolate. Fields that once flourished became cracked wastelands. The people of Ad grew desperate and traveled to a nearby valley hoping to find relief. They raised their hands toward the sky, begging their idols for help. But the clouds that appeared held no mercy. They were dark, ominous, and unfamiliar. The people rejoiced, believing rain had finally come to rescue them. They rushed home in celebration, unaware that these clouds carried the very punishment they arrogantly demanded. Hud, alayhi salam, however, recognized the signs immediately. Hud, alayhi salam, gathered a small group of believers and warned them to prepare for what was coming. He instructed them to stay close, remain patient, and trust in Allah's protection. Meanwhile, the clouds advanced over the territory of Ad. What looked like salvation was, in truth, the beginning of devastation. The wind began as a gentle breeze, barely noticeable. But soon, it intensified into a violent blast that tore through trees and uprooted homes. The people of Ad were stunned. They had never witnessed a force that matched their strength, let alone surpassed it so dramatically. The windstorm grew fiercer, transforming into a relentless force unlike anything the region had ever experienced. It roared through the valleys, sounding like thunder tearing across the earth. The people panicked, seeking shelter in their grand structures. But their homes, carved into rocks and built with pride, crumbled like sandcastles. Every gust of wind carried destruction, shattering their sense of invincibility. For days, the storm raged, showing no mercy. Those who once boasted of their power now trembled with fear. They realized, too late, that no strength could stand against the command of Allah. The punishment lasted 8 days and 7 nights, days filled with terror, nights filled with despair. Bodies were lifted and hurled across the desert as if weightless. The once mighty nation of Ad was reduced to ruins. Their skyscraper-like structures collapsed, their farmland vanished, and their legacy dissolved into dust. The wind left nothing behind except silence, a silence heavy with the lesson that arrogance leads to downfall. Hud, alayhi salam, and his followers, however, were untouched. They stood protected by Allah, witnessing the consequences of rejecting truth. It was a moment that would echo through history as a stark warning. When the storm finally stopped, Hud, alayhi salam, led the believers out of their shelter. The landscape they knew was gone. What remained was a barren desert, stripped of every trace of the civilization that once prided itself on greatness. Hud's heart was heavy, though he had been vindicated. He felt no joy in the destruction of his people. His mission was to save them, not watch them perish. With deep sadness, he guided his followers toward a new land where they could worship Allah freely and build a community grounded in humility and faith. Hud, alayhi salam, continued guiding his community long after the destruction of Ad. The believers who followed him rebuilt their lives under his leadership. This part of the story is often overlooked, yet it shows the beauty of starting anew with faith as a foundation. They embraced simplicity, unity, and gratitude. Their community grew stable and peaceful, free from the corruption and pride that destroyed their predecessors. Hud's teachings shaped a generation that valued righteousness over arrogance, proving that a society grounded in moral principles can thrive regardless of material strength. The Quran frequently reminds us of the people of Ad, urging believers to reflect on their ruins. Even today, the region of Al-Aqab stands as a silent witness to their story. Archaeological traces hint at their once glorious existence, reinforcing the reality of their downfall. These reminders are not meant to invoke fear alone. They inspire reflection on the transient nature of life. Strength, wealth, and beauty fade, but righteousness endures. Hud's message echoes across centuries, encouraging us to build legacies rooted in faith rather than fleeting worldly achievements. In documentary form, the story of Hud, alayhi salam, becomes more than narration. It becomes a journey through ancient ruins, powerful winds, and profound lessons. It invites viewers to witness the rise and fall of a civilization, the patience of the prophet, and the consequences of pride. It challenges us to rethink our understanding of power and success. As the camera pans across deserts and forgotten landscapes, the message becomes clear. Truth is timeless, and its warnings are universal. Hud's voice echoes through history, reminding us to anchor our lives in faith. The story of Prophet Hud, alayhi salam, stands as a testament to the enduring power of humility, truth, and steadfastness. His courage in confronting an entire nation, his unwavering dedication, and his deep compassion for his people make him one of history's greatest moral examples. As the documentary closes, viewers are left with powerful reflection. Greatness is not measured by structures, wealth, or power, but by obedience to Allah and sincerity of heart. Hud's story is not one of destruction. It is one of guidance, resilience, and the eternal triumph of truth over arrogance.